A night sky torn apart by a storm of steel. What if an entire army of buzzing machines and roaring missiles could be turned into fireworks that never reach the ground? Imagine 619 hostile projectiles blazing through darkness, only to be sliced apart by a handful of sleek fighters. The world held its breath as the air above Ukraine became a flickering battlefield, each flash a question: could the defenders turn a nightmare into a triumph? Earlier we learned that a massive nocturnal barrage was poised to rain down on Ukrainian cities. From the evening of September 19 into the early hours of the 20th, Russia unleashed an unprecedented wave. 579 Shahid-type drones, churned out at a frantic pace of roughly 2,700 each month, and dozens of cruise missiles. Yet, as the first rockets tore through the gloom, the air defense net sprang to life. The sky echoed with the roar of F-16 jets screaming into the night, their afterburners a bitter perfume of fuel and fear. With every climb, pilots chased the faint silhouettes of missiles, their sights locked on a gleaming target. The first strike fell silent, the missile never striking its intended mark. Yet the battle was far from over. What hidden threat lingered beyond the visible horizon? Building on that fierce opening, the next wave of aggression sharpened its focus. Russia's favored weapon, the K-81 cruise missile, surged forward, its low, terrain-hugging flight designed to slip beneath radar. 39 of these deadly spears cut through the cold air, each carrying a payload that could crush buildings with a single hit. Meanwhile, the wreckage of Shahid drones rained down, 552 of them shredded by surface-to-air batteries and electronic warfare. F-16 pilots, eyes narrowed, dove again, this time locking onto the sleek missiles. One by one, they ignited, exploding in fireballs that painted the heavens. By dawn, Ukraine's defenses had downed 2 nuclear-capable Iskander rockets and 29 K-81 missiles, turning a potential catastrophe into a shattered tableau of smoke. Yet, despite the triumph, fragments of shrapnel still found their way to the streets below, leaving casualties in their wake. The final question lingers: how long can this high-stakes aerial chess game continue before the stakes become unbearable? Previously, we saw how Ukraine's pilots ignored the swarm of drones, focusing instead on a far deadlier threat, around 40 incoming missiles launched by Russia during a brutal overnight raid. But what types of missiles were these? And how did Ukraine manage to stop so many? Ukraine's Air Force revealed that while Russia fired a variety of missile types, there was one star among them, the Kh-101 cruise missile. Ukrainian pilots, flying their fierce fighting Falcons, claimed the lion's share of these deadly missiles. What makes this missile so fearsome? We'll get to that. But for now, understand this was no ordinary strike. Russia's plan was to wreak havoc on Ukrainian cities and shatter morale. This is classic psychological warfare, a terrifying, relentless assault crafted to wear down defenses. Vladimir Putin's strategy is chillingly clear. Send endless waves of missiles and drones to overwhelm Ukraine's defenders. The hope? That some will slip through, delivering destruction where it hurts most. Yet, Ukraine's air defenses, including their newly deployed F-16s, had other plans. They obliterated nearly everything Russia threw their way. From the swarm of 579 Shahid drones, mass-produced at an astonishing rate, they shot down or diverted 552. The pilots then turned their deadly focus to missiles. The F-16s destroyed 2 Iskander ballistic missiles, notorious for their nuclear capability, and an astonishing 29 of the Kh-101s. Such numbers speak volumes. Ukraine's elite pilots did not just intercept, they dominated the skies. Proof of their success is no mere claim. Ukraine's Air Force released gripping footage showing the jets in action during the assault. The camera shakes with every heartbeat inside the cockpit, capturing afterburners blazing, missiles launching, and sky-shaking explosions as enemy ordnance detonates harmlessly. Some clips, likely shot from helmet cams, show missiles peeling off from the jet's pylons, silent death stalking silent death in the night. Yet, the camera never follows these counter-missiles to their targets. Why? Because every missile launched by Ukraine's pilots was aimed with deadly certainty, heading straight for Russia's incoming missiles. Below, from the cracked earth, flashes of surface-to-air missile launches punctuate the dark with bursts of light, a layered defense network humming and roaring in deadly choreography. But here's the unsettling question: amidst the explosions and intercepted missiles, did any make it through? And if so, what was the cost? The answer holds the key to the unfolding war, the desperate struggle between destruction and survival in the skies of Ukraine. As the sun dipped below the horizon on September 19, an unprecedented storm was brewing in the skies above Ukraine. Russia launched one of its largest missile and drone strikes to date, hoping to catch the nation off guard under the cloak of night. This time, however, Ukraine stood ready, deploying its feared F-16 fighter jets to intercept the incoming onslaught. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. In the dim light, the pilots of the Ukrainian F-16 sprang into action, defying the odds and achieving what many deemed impossible. They engaged in a fierce aerial battle, targeting an astounding 40 Russian missiles flying toward urban areas. The air was filled with the sharp whirring of engines and the distant rumbles of explosions as the jets valiantly took to the sky. The reports were staggering. Out of the 619 aerial threats, it was revealed that 579 were Shahid drones aimed at wreaking havoc across the land. Graphics flashed on screens, showcasing drone footage captured from the pilots' helmets as they unleashed their missiles, silhouettes against a backdrop of brilliant fireballs illuminating the dark sky. The cameras captured the desperate dance of destruction as Ukrainian defensive systems fired in synchronized harmony to neutralize incoming threats. But as the dust began to settle, tragedy struck. The very next day, reports poured in about the aftermath of this fierce siege. Casualties lay strewn before the eyes of an anxious country. In Dnipro, a once peaceful neighborhood became the site of devastation, claiming the life of one and injuring 36 others. The horrors didn't stop there. As the bombardment crept into the Khmelnytsky region, where one more civilian fell victim along with various injuries resulting from falling debris. The statistics were chilling. Every civilian life lost was a grim reminder of the ongoing terror that the war has cast over the nation. Could Russia's relentless pursuit of terror reach further into the heart of innocent lives? And with each strike, how many more would join the somber tally of those impacted by this harrowing conflict? The clock was ticking as Ukraine struggled to guard its civilians while bracing for the next inevitable attack. Could they endure this cycle of chaos? At that moment, a chilling question lingered in the air: what would it take to finally break free from the shackles of war? Earlier, reports confirmed that the Khmelnytsky region endured 1 fatality and 36 injuries. What if a hidden arsenal could rain down 100+ drones in a single night? The night of September 19 turned into a thunderous barrage. 619 hostile objects crossed Ukrainian skies. 579 of them were Shahid-type drones, mass-produced at a frantic pace. Their metallic wings whistled like angry hornets, their engines a low, eerie drone that churned the cold air. Ukrainian pilots scrambled their F-16 fighters. In the darkness, the jets roared, cutting through the gloom like silver knives. They locked onto 40 cruise missiles, each a sleek, silent predator. The effort paid off. The majority of missiles vanished before reaching any target. 29 of the dreaded Kh-101 cruise missiles were shredded in mid-air, and 2 Iskander ballistic rockets met the same fate. The sky sang with explosions, bright flashes lighting the horizon. Ground crews watched anti-air batteries hurl surface-to-air missiles, a rain of fire answering the incoming swarm. Yet, despite the fierce defense, some fragments slipped through. Debris crashed into Dnipro, shattering windows, killing 1 civilian and wounding 36 more. Similar strikes scarred Mykolaiv and the Kiev region, reminders that even a single hit carries a weight of terror. Now, consider the weapon that most threatened the nation, the Kh-101. Designed to glide just above the earth, it hugs terrain, slipping beneath radar like a ghost. Its warhead, up to 450 kilograms of high explosive, can devastate a building with a single strike. Some variants disperse submunitions, turning a single missile into a cloud of lethal fragments. Though Russia also fields a nuclear-capable cousin, the Kh-102, it was not deployed this night. The question remains, how long can a sky filled with such relentless threats stay defensible? Ukraine's coordinated Shield F-16s, mobile air defense units, and surface-to-air missiles kept casualties lower than the horror could have produced. But each successful interception fuels a darker calculus. If the next wave arrives with even more sophisticated missiles, will the same bravery be enough, or will the sky finally darken beyond repair? Previously, we explored how the Kh-101 missile carries a devastating payload of nearly 1,000 pounds. It can be equipped with various warheads, high explosive, fragmentation, submunition, and even penetrators designed to smash through fortified underground bunkers and tunnels. This missile is a shapeshifter in the arsenal of destruction. Yet, there's a shadow sibling, the Kh-102, that carries nuclear capability. Luckily, it wasn't part of the recent attack. Now, here's a question that chills the bone. How can Ukraine possibly defend against weapons that strike from thousands of miles away, launched safely beyond the reach of any immediate counterattack? The Kh-101's range is staggering. Some sources say it can cover nearly 1,750 miles, others report an astonishing 3,400 miles. Whether it flies halfway across continents or even further, it strikes without warning, hugging the terrain, invisible to most radars. Imagine being a Ukrainian pilot tonight, staring into the dark sky where enemy missiles scream in from afar. The massive speed and stealth of the Kh-101 make them deadly, almost ghosts cutting through the air. But here's the catch, an F-16 fighter jet alone isn't a missile killer. That sleek Cold War-era aircraft is a powerful platform, but the pilots need one critical tool to face these flying beasts, missiles of their own. The battle unfolds like a deadly chess match. Ukraine's F-16s scramble, engines roaring, sonic vibration shaking the cockpit as pilots prepare their weapons. Lightning-fast decision-making blasts through their minds, knowing every shot could mean survival or destruction. What missile did they trust in this night of terror? The AIM-9L Sidewinder, a heat-seeking missile designed to hunt and destroy airborne threats with precision. This tiny but lethal missile was unleashed against Russian cruise missiles, a dramatic duel in the skies over Ukraine. The reality hits you hard. Without the right missiles, the pilot's courage would be a mere shadow. Do you sense the tension? The whirring of engines, the crackling of radios, the faint scent of heated fuel and adrenaline mixing in the air. The stakes have never been higher during this harrowing conflict that starkly contrasts terrifying technology and human valor. But the story doesn't end here. How many of these stealthy Kh-101 missiles did Ukraine's F-16s manage to shoot down? Were they enough to hold back the storm Russia unleashed during this night raid? The answer lies in the next part of this intense aerial showdown. In the bitter dawn of September 20, 2025, Ukraine stood poised for one of the most audacious missile assaults launched by Russia in recent history. An overwhelming storm of chaos descended from the sky as hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles hurtled toward Ukrainian cities like a relentless avalanche. It was a calculated move from Moscow, an attempt to pierce through Ukraine's defenses under the cloak of night. Yet, the skies would soon tell a different story. As the night wore on, the sound of roaring engines filled the air, signaling the arrival of the Ukrainian F-16s. These nimble, war-hardened jets, equipped with an advanced arsenal, took to the skies in a desperate attempt to intercept the looming threats. The stakes were sky-high. Would they manage to protect their homeland from the impending disaster? Striking like falcons, Ukraine's F-16s unleashed their own weapons of choice, the AIM-9L Sidewinder missiles. As they soared into the darkening abyss, these heat-seeking projectiles locked onto their live targets with deadly precision, leaving behind only explosions where just moments before there had been threats. The Sidewinder, a missile with a storied history dating back to 1956, was more than merely a relic of the past. Enhanced for modern warfare, this version was lethal, boasting a high-explosive warhead designed to obliterate anything in its path. Despite Russia's daunting barrage of 619 aerial threats, the deadly duo of the F-16s and their AIM-9Ls turned the tide. Ukraine's Air Force reported the staggering success, 552 out of 579 Shahed drones shot down, and significant destruction delivered to the Kh-101 cruise missiles that had been fired. But how many missiles could they truly intercept? The deafening sounds of explosions rang out, mingling with the acrid smell of burnt metal and smoke, affirming that this was more than just a defense, this was a fierce counteroffensive. However, amidst the victorious roars and celebratory echoes, tragedy struck. Despite Ukraine's valor and tactical genius, the sheer volume of Russian firepower meant that some missiles did breach the defenses. Reports surfaced of impacts in densely populated areas, leading to casualties that hung heavy in the air, one dead, dozens injured. The scars of war continue to deepen as terror tactics aim to shake the resolve of a resilient people. Yet, as Ukraine assessed the damage inflicted, a chilling reality dawned. Russia's arsenal represented a potent threat, particularly the Kh-101 missiles, capable of delivering destruction from distances far beyond the front lines. These stealthy projectiles, designed to slip through defenses like a whisper in the wind, were, alarmingly, still looming in the shadows, forming an ominous reminder of the precarious dance between destruction and survival. How long could Ukraine maintain this defensive dance against relentless foes? With each retort of a missile, every clash in the skies, and every life lost, the conflict drags on. The unanswered questions linger: when will this struggle end? And what price will Ukraine continue to pay in its battle for survival and sovereignty? As the conflict rages, the question remains: can hope withstand the tide of war? Previously, we learned how Ukraine's F-16s, armed with the AIM-9L missile, have turned the tide against Russia's deadly Kh-101 cruise missiles. These missiles, designed to evade most defense systems by flying low and fast, met their match in Ukraine's fighter jets. But how precise and effective is this missile that's reshaping the battlefield? The AIM-9L entered service decades ago, yet it boasts an astonishing efficiency, a kill rate around 80% after launch. Imagine firing 10 missiles and hitting 8 targets every time. That's how deadly this weapon is. Its lock-on range extends up to 11 kilometers, or nearly 7 miles, which doubles the range of earlier versions. It can chase down almost anything approaching, locking in from a distance long before the enemy realizes it's targeted. Still, this missile isn't invincible. It can be fooled by flares or outrun by certain agile aircraft, but here's the twist: during Russia's massive nighttime strike, the AIM-9L wasn't hunting fast jets. It was chasing missiles. The sluggish, relentless Kh-101s didn't stand a chance against this precise hunter. Ukraine's pilots reported multiple successful intercepts, their jets slicing through streams of incoming threats, neutralizing one after another. But Ukraine's mastery over missile defense isn't limited to just the F-16s. Earlier this year, French-made Mirage 2000 fighters showcased their own prowess against the same Russian menace. In an electrifying moment, a Mirage pilot locked in on a Kh-101 barreling straight toward them and fired a missile at an almost impossible angle. The missile flexed mid-flight, corrected its course, and obliterated its target. It was a clear message: Russia's high-tech weapons face a new nightmare. How has Ukraine managed to outsmart these cruise missiles that were specifically built to slip under the radar? Ground-based missile defenses, like Patriots or S-300 systems, struggle against such low-flying projectiles. But F-16s equipped with AIM-9L sidewinders have rewritten the rulebook. They're fast, maneuverable, and deadly, capable of meeting the Kh-101s head-on and destroying them before they reach populated areas or vital infrastructure. Is it possible that these fighters are Ukraine's secret weapon against Russia's relentless sky assault? Could these Cold War-era jets, armed with decades-old missile tech, be the key to keeping entire cities safe? The battle above isn't just about missiles and planes, it's about survival, ingenuity, and proving that even the most fearsome weapons can be beat. But that's not where this story ends. What if the true breakthrough wasn't just in the weapons but in how Ukraine has woven its defenses into a seamless, coordinated network: fighters, ground systems, and electronic warfare, all working as one against the storm of Russian attacks? What surprises wait in the skies next? Earlier we saw a massive night barrage of Russian missiles and Shahid drones, a storm of 619 hostile objects that rained down on Ukrainian skies. The Ukrainian Air Force answered with a dazzling display of EF-16 fighters, turning the night into a fireworks show of explosions and triumph. Now, imagine a sleek EF-16, agile enough to dodge a missile in midair, armed with a sidewinder that can seize a Ka-101 cruise missile and shred it. This is exactly what Ukraine's pilots have been doing, achieving feats that other aircraft simply cannot match. In August 2024, as the first batch of Western EF-16 jets touched down, the Atlantic Council warned that these planes would primarily bolster air defenses, not hunt ground targets. They are perfectly suited to shoot down Russian missiles and drones that menace cities and critical infrastructure, the analysts wrote. Those words proved prophetic within weeks. Why did the EF-16 outshine older Soviet-era birds? Not only because it flies smoother, but because it can launch advanced NATO missiles like the Sidewinder, something the MiG-29 or Su-27 cannot do without extensive modifications. Before the arrival of the EFF-16, Ukraine owned just 69 airframes, a ragtag fleet of MiGs and Su-27s patched to fire NATO munitions. Their sensors were dated, their survivability limited, and their weapons integration clunky. The Atlantic Council also noted that the early model EFF-16s lacked the longest radar reach, meaning they may not dominate the front line. Yet even with this limitation, they proved deadly against the incoming barrage. During the night strike, Ukrainian pilots intercepted roughly 40 missiles, sending most tumbling to the ground before they could strike. The same pilots directed their eyes to the swarm of Shahid drones, 579 in total, watching as 552 were either shot down or forced off course by a mix of electronic warfare, interceptor drones, and surface-to-air missiles. Imagine the roar of a jet engine, the sharp crack of a Sidewinder slicing through cold night air, the blaze of a missile exploding mid-sky. Each flash lit the faces of pilots, the taste of burnt ozone in their mouths. How many more missiles could they have stopped if every shot found its mark? Could a single rogue missile still slip through, delivering a payload of 450 kilograms of high explosive, enough to level a building in an instant? The question hangs in the darkness: will Russia adapt its tactics, or will Ukraine's coordinated defense EFF-16s, mobile air defense units, and ground-based SAMs continue to turn each assault into a Pyrrhic victory for the aggressor? The answer may be as elusive as the next missile in the sky. Previously we learned how the F-16's weapons suite turned it into a lethal shield against Russian missiles, even though its older radar struggled to spot distant threats. Did you know that a single Ukrainian fighter jet, armed with just a handful of missiles, managed to shred a wave of Russia's most feared cruise missiles in one night, turning a massive terror attack into a near miracle? How did a fleet of aging F-16s, delivered barely months before, become the linchpin that stopped a sky full of death? The answer lies in a night of fire and steel. Just after sunset on September 19, Russia unleashed a torrent of 619 airborne hazards, hoping darkness would hide its weapons. The sky filled with the whine of 579 Shahid-type drones, their rotors humming like angry insects. Ukrainian radar blinked, then flared as F-16 pilots scrambled. Within minutes, the first missile arcs lit the horizon, each explosion a flash of orange-red, the smell of burnt fuel hanging heavy. How many of those missiles could pierce the defense? The answer arrived in bursts of gunfire and soaring jets. The F-16s focused on 40 missiles, a mix of cruise weapons that thundered toward the ground. Pilots locked onto the KH-101, a stealthy subsonic nightmare that hugs the terrain, slipping under radar like a ghost. One strike delivered a 450-kilogram payload, enough to level a building. Yet the Falcons, with cannon fire and precision missiles, shattered 29 of those KH-101s, sending them spiraling into flames. Meanwhile, surface-to-air launchers cracked the sky, bringing down 500-plus Shahid drones. Could any Russian projectile still find a target? A lone missile dodged the barrage, striking a residential block in Dnipro, leaving 1 dead and 36 wounded. Earlier victories hinted at this performance. In November 2024, Ukrainian F-16s had already downed 10 aerial threats during a Russian blitz, one over the Dnipro region, a region later pounded again. By January 2025, a pilot achieved a world first, destroying 6 cruise missiles in a single sortie, using cannons when missiles ran out. Those feats forged confidence, shaping the night's defense. What next? The KH-101 remains a terrifying instrument, capable of traveling up to 5,500 kilometers, carrying explosive or fragmentation warheads, even a nuclear variant. Its low-altitude glide makes it hard to detect, its payload enough to turn a city into rubble. Yet Ukrainian pilots, feeling the vibration of their engines, hearing the crack of their cannons, proved that skill and resolve could turn even the deadliest missile into a falling star. The battle above continues, but one question lingers: will the next wave of Russian missiles find a sky that can no longer be tamed? In a world where nations collide in the skies, a new chapter in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine unfolded with a dramatic twist. Imagine a night shrouded in darkness, where silence was suddenly shattered by the roar of missile launches and the ominous buzz of drones. On September 19, 2025, Russia unleashed a barrage, hoping to wreak havoc across Ukrainian cities. The air was heavy with anxiety and the scent of impending destruction. But on this night, Ukraine was prepared, armed with F-16 fighter jets capable of turning the tide. Did anyone expect that Ukrainian pilots would harness the power of their jets, scoring a remarkable feat unheard of in history? As they soared through the night, they would face an onslaught of threats. Can you feel the tension rising as the first missiles were detected, the pilots' hearts racing in sync with their aircraft's engines? With precision and courage, they launched into action, intercepting dozens of missiles. These weren't just any missiles, they were Kh-101's stealthy, subsonic cruise missiles designed to evade radar. Yet, against all odds, Ukrainian pilots managed to shoot down a staggering number, 29 out of 40. An incredible triumph for the F-16s. How did they accomplish such an impossible feat? As dawn broke, headlines buzzed with tales of this audacious defense. Social media echoed with pride from Ukraine's Air Force Command declaring this operation legendary. The birds of prey had emerged victorious. The world learned that for the first time, an F-16 destroyed 6 Russian cruise missiles in one mission. It was a pure affirmation of the skies being reclaimed. General Christopher G. Cavalli revealed to the Senate Armed Services Committee that these courageous pilots not only defended but also executed offensive operations against the invaders. The question remained, how long would this momentum last? With only half of the pledged F-16s delivered, Ukraine's hope lay in its allies' responses. Would Belgium and Denmark step up, or would they falter in delivering essential support? As we dive deeper into this unfolding saga, prepare for the shocking truths surrounding military strategies and humanity's struggles in warfare. What lies ahead for Ukrainian defense, and how will each nation's decisions alter the battlefield? Join us on this incredible journey through the skies, where victory is hard-won and every moment counts. Don't miss the twists and revelations that await. Previously, we saw how Ukraine's F-16 pilots proved their mettle by shooting down dozens of Russian missiles in one intense night. The arrival of promised jets from Belgium and Denmark could soon make Ukraine's skies even more secure. But what if the battle for the air doesn't stop there? Imagine a world where Russia's relentless air raids vanish overnight, not because their weapons fail, but because an entire sky closes above them. This is exactly what Poland is pushing for, demanding NATO seal off Russian airspace and crush its ability to launch deadly strikes from above. Such a move would choke Russia's aerial assaults, grounding their offensive power like never before. Could this mean Ukraine's F-16s might finally get some breathing room, fewer waves of missiles to intercept, fewer explosions lighting up the sky? The roar of jets might soften, replaced by cautious waiting instead of fierce dogfights. Yet, behind this hopeful calm lies a new kind of siege, one fought not just with wings and weapons, but with political will and strategic alliances. What will happen if NATO steps up to this challenge? Will it reshape the war's course completely? Can Putin's air power be clipped at last, forcing a shift in tactics or desperation? The stakes have never been higher as Poland demands a blackout on Russia's air dominance, a bold gambit whose outcome could echo far beyond Ukraine's borders. Stay tuned to discover how this looming showdown over the skies may redefine the battlefield and change the fate of nations. The story of Ukraine's F-16s is far from over.